When a millionaire disguises as a taxi driver, his daughter's words haunt him forever. The rain fell in sheets, each drop a reminder of the storm brewing inside Jack Thompson. $1 million empire slipped through his fingers like the water drenching the streets outside. His daughter's last words echoed in his mind, oh so haunting, you'll never understand me until you're one of them. Those words spiraled into his soul, a challenge that transformed Jack from a polished businessman into a faceless taxi driver under the neon glow of city lights. He could hardly recognize himself in the rearview mirror. A shabby cap perched on his head, a faded t-shirt clinging to his skin, and crusty sneakers that had seen better days. Those 30-block taxi rides, packed with strangers and secrets, offered him a window into a world he'd long forgotten. And oh, the tales they spun. The weary mothers cradling their restless babies, the drunkards spilling their sorrows between slurred words, and the teenagers, eyes glued to their screens, oblivious to the life bustling around them. Each passenger was a story. Each ride, an unsolved riddle, but there was something else, a strange element, an invisible thread connecting these lives to his own. A thriller, lurking beneath layers of everyday chaos. One night, a passenger left behind a mesmerizing locket, glimmering with secrets. Embossed on the heart, initials entwined like a broken promise, it whispered to him. The name inside was familiar. Could it really belong to someone he knew? As he pondered this, the air in the cab thickened. He felt the weight of those strange gazes falling on him, eyes flickering with judgment. Was it sympathy or disdain? The city felt alive, and yet, it was a graveyard of dreams, where shadows stretched into alleyways and truths lurked behind closed doors. What was the story behind the locket? Who was its owner? Had she lost it amidst heartache, or had it been taken from her as a cruel souvenir of farewell? Suddenly, his phone buzzed a text from his daughter. Dad, you'll find what you're looking for. Just look closer. He blinked, confusion washing over him like a tidal wave. What was that supposed to mean? He could feel a tremor in his hands as he gripped the steering wheel tighter. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Tension crackled in the cab like electricity, and Jack was pulled into a whirlpool of urgency. What did his daughter know? Why did he feel an unshakable connection to the girl who declaimed to know him so well? In the taxi's rearview, a figure loomed just outside, shadowed but familiar. With the glint of the locket in his pocket and questions swirling in his heart, Jack was ready to dive deep into this twisted mystery. Who was waiting for him at the next stop? His heart raced as Jack leaned forward, scanning the rain-soaked street. The figure stepping into view was draped in a dark coat, the hood pulled tight against the downpour. Could it be some trick of the light, or was his imagination running wild? No, the silhouette looked unmistakably familiar. A chill shot through him. What if it was her? What if the answers he sought were hidden in the depths of those eyes, the same eyes that once sparkled with laughter over dinner? The cab doors swung open, and a sharp scent of perfume mixed with the sharpness of rain wafted inside. Where to? Jack managed, his voice barely above a whisper. The passenger slid into the back seat, her eyes obscured by the shadows of her hood. Just drive, she said, her tone laced with urgency. He knew that voice. It could only belong to one person, his daughter, Lily. But how could this be? She had been in school. No, he couldn't let panic cloud his judgment. Ignoring the familiar pang in his chest, he pressed the gas pedal and slipped into the stream of traffic. As they drove through the rain-slicked streets, the silence hung thick, punctuated only by the rhythmic tapping of droplets against the cab's rooftop. Jack stole sideways glances, searching for confirmation. But Lily remained hidden, her face obscured by shadows. Why are you here? He finally asked, breaking the suffocating silence. You need to see. She turned slightly, enough for the glow of the streetlights to catch a glimpse of her face. It was drawn, pale, haunted. Jack's gut twisted. What had she stumbled into? Was this the world he had entered, the world he was trying to understand? Lily, we can talk about this later. I know. Listen to me. This isn't just a game anymore. You need to find the owner of that locket. It's important. Her voice trembled, and Jack's heart sank further. Who is she? The corner of her mouth grimaced, a painful smile. Someone I'm connected to. Someone who needs your help. A knot formed in his throat. Sweeping emotions roiled within him, fatherly instincts, regret, and urgency. The city raced by outside, a blur of neon signs, each one holding secrets. He felt suffocated by his choices, by the elaborate life he had built and now risked losing. Without warning, Lily slid to the edge of her seat, the urgency in her voice climbing. Dad, you have to understand. We're connected by more than just blood. You've been given a chance to change everything. Change what? Our lives. Everything. But time's running out. She has to remember. The streetlight ahead illuminated the cab, casting a harsh light that danced across her face. Just then, the sound of tires screeching caught Jack's attention. He jerked the wheel, narrowly avoiding a collision with a reckless cab. Panic surged inside him, driving him to the edge. Be careful. Lily shouted, her hands gripping the seat. Jack clenched his jaw, refocusing on the road, adrenaline coursing through his veins. I need to know what I'm doing. What are you talking about? But Lily sat back, her stormy gaze piercing through him. The locket, it's a key, you just need to look closer. As they turned onto a dimly lit street, Jack's instincts flared. The weight of the locket in his pocket felt heavier now, like a ticking time bomb. The atmosphere shifted, like someone watching from the shadows, waiting for their moment. Who's coming for us? He asked quickly, glancing into the rearview. The night seemed alive with unknowns, but Lily offered no answer. The weight in the air thickened again just as a pair of headlights bore down on them, illuminating the street like a spotlight on a stage. Jack's heart raced as he gripped the steering wheel tighter, bracing himself for what lay ahead. In that frozen heartbeat, the doors of their future swung wide open. What hidden truths awaited them in that uncharted territory? Just drive, Lily urged fiercely. It's time to confront what has been shadowing us. You need to know the truth. As they sped into the darkened alley, anxiety twisted Jack's gut. The locket's meaning, his daughter's desperation, everything was about to collide. Would he be ready to face what awaited? With the unmistakable sound of gravel crunching beneath them, Jack couldn't shake the feeling they were being hunted. Who, or what, was waiting in the darkness? The gravel crunched loudly under the tires as Jack rounded the corner, the building shadows closing in around them. The alley was narrow, flanked by grimy brick walls that seemed to close in, suffocating any light that dared to pierce its depths. He could barely hear Lily's tense breathing over the thudding pulse in his ears. Keep driving, Lily urged, her voice barely above a whisper, but the fervor was unmistakable. Where, Lily? Where do we go? Jack's frustration bubbled just beneath the surface. He was still grappling with the reality of his daughter's sudden appearance, her cryptic messages, and the impending dread he felt. The locket, Dad. You need to use it now. He could feel her gaze boring into him, but the shadows swallowed her features again. The passenger door had barely shut when they arrived in the alley, leaving his heart thudding anxiously in his chest as he gripped the wheel tighter, the rubber of his tires teetering on the edge of his sanity. Jack's instinct screamed, he had to get away. The heavy pressure of the rain was psychological, weighing him down, pulling him deeper into a pit where shadows whispered threats. He glanced at the locket, a small, unassuming piece of jewelry that had tossed his world into chaos. Lily, where did you find it? Is this Is this about your mother? The mention of her mother sent a shiver through the cab. Jack felt as if he'd stepped on a landmine. The memories of their fractured family life flooded back, taunting him. The last few years had driven a wedge between them before the tragedy struck, but now, with Lily back and armed with the truth, perhaps there was hope. She's out there, Dad, and you need to remember who she truly is. A sudden noise caught his attention, a sharp crack, like the sound of a twig snapping underfoot. Jack's heart froze, and his instincts kicked into high gear. Someone was close. Stay low, he hissed, sinking into his seat as he watched a figure approach from the darkness. It moved with a purpose, cutting through the rain with an ominous grace. Jack's mind raced, but there wasn't a moment to lose. He slammed the gas pedal to the floor, tires kicking gravel as they shot down the alley. The headlights of the approaching figure flared to life, illuminating the space behind them like a torch igniting fear. Faster! Lily shouted, her urgency piercing through the chaos. Jack didn't need to be told twice. Each second felt like a lifetime as he swung the cab onto a wider street, the rain pouring down harder than before, blurring his vision. Jack fought for clarity, adrenaline fueling his actions. Who is that? What do they want? I don't know, but they want the locket. It holds the key to everything. Jack felt a tightening in his chest, a dawning realization mixed with the desperate urgency in her tone. There was more at stake here than just a locket, and Lily knew it. The world around them morphed into shadows and streaks of rain as he pulled into the night, heart racing. The headlights behind them grew, larger, illuminating the name on the vehicle. A black SUV. Its aggressive stance screamed power and danger, and it bore down on them with predatory intensity. Keep driving. She urged again, the panic now transparent in her voice. Jack's mind reeled. What could possibly connect the two of them with whoever was chasing them? Who wanted the locket so desperately? The screeching tires behind sent his heart into his throat, pushing him further in survival mode. They were trapped, but he had to resist fear. As they sped through the city, a thought struck him, chilling and urgent. Do you know what you're really asking me to find, Lily? Yes. But then tell me. Is your mother alive? The words hung heavy in the air, and Jack gripped the wheel tighter, the desire for answers battling with the chill running down his spine. But instead of an answer, he saw the fear in Lily's eyes flare brighter than any streetlight could illuminate. What if she doesn't even remember who you are? Or what if someone is waiting to silence you? Just then, the SUV jetted past, flanking them. With ease. Jack's heart raced, he could picture their faces, the demand for that locket burning in the dark void. Hold on! He yelled, his instinct kicking in. He swerved sharply, the sounds of tires squealing against the wet asphalt echoing as the taxi lurched forward. But the SUV was relentless, driving fiercely to trap them in the darkness ahead. And then, through the chaos, a flash of recognition hit him like a bolt of lightning. Mom! He shouted as a name he thought lost began to unravel. But before he could ponder further, he barely had time to brace for what was coming next. His entire life was about to be brought crashing down as they careened toward an unknown fate, what lay ahead in the dark. And who were the real players in this dangerous game? The world outside blurred into a chaotic smear of bright lights and heavy rain as Jack fought to keep the cab steady. The SUV was relentless, its engines roaring like a beast hungry for its prey. Panic clawed at him, clawing deeper than the fear of their pursuers. It played on his thoughts, questioning everything he believed about the past, about Lily, about the ghost of his wife. Dad, go! Lily shouted again, fear making her voice tremble. The urgency in her tone sliced through the tension. He couldn't afford to let his memories cloud the now. For Christ's sake, what's your mother got to do with this? Jack roared, adrenaline surging, edging him toward the brink where choices turned into instincts. Lily leaned forward, eyes wide under the cab's harsh lights. The locket isn't just jewelry, Dad. It's her memory, her life. She's being kept away from us. That hit him like a punch. What do you mean kept away? By who? His heart slammed against his chest, each thought a reminder of the stakes. If they got the locket, it could spell the difference between salvation and finality. I can't explain it all now, but if they get it, everything will end. Please, I need you to believe me. The SUV closed in again, maneuvering as if it had a mind of its own, a predatory beast, its massive chassis glinting in the gloom like a shark cutting through dark waters. Jack swerved to the right, narrowly avoiding a lamppost, the sudden jerk sending his heart into a frantic spiral. Focus! Lily ordered, and for a fleeting moment, he was taken aback by the conviction in her voice. His daughter hadn't just returned, she had come back ready to fight. We can't let them have it. It was a distraction he couldn't afford, yet a flicker of hope flared within him, battling the dread that threatened to swallow them. But what if your mother is Dad? She cut him off, and he sensed her resolve. If you don't trust me, then all of this is for nothing. You have to believe. In that instant, something shifted in him. He wasn't just a cab driver anymore, playing the role while pulling in fares. He was a father, fighting for his daughter, for the memory of a woman who had left an emptiness in his heart. He glanced at the locket, a glimmering flicker amidst the chaos. Jack buried his foot deeper into the gas, propelling the cab further into a maze of streets, slick with rainfall and adorned with glaring headlights. He could almost taste the heat of the urgency on his tongue. Highway signs flashed by, confidence rising until a dawn of comprehension came crashing in. Where do we go, Lily? Where's south the safe place? There's an old barn on the outskirts, where I think they want to find us to regroup. Lily's words came like a lifeline. It's our best chance. He veered onto a side road, dodging a sleek sports car before merging onto a stretch that branched into a more deserted area. The world blurred further, but the unmistakable roar of the SUV behind them drove the desperation home. Their pursuers were relentless, and the storm around them mirrored the turmoil within. Hang on! Jack called as he pressed the pedal to the metal, heart racing alongside the speedometer. The headlights were like dull thunder in the distance, rumbling with the promise of danger. For every pulse of adrenaline that surged through him, a haunting sense of fate pulled at his chest. They were coming into the outskirts now, the city fading into trees, shadows thickening the air around them. Jack took a breath to steady his mind. They had to pull this off. Suddenly, with swerving tires and crashing hearts, Jack turned sharply onto a dirt path leading toward the barn. He felt the jarring lock of gravel and earth beneath them, and his stomach turned in a wild mix of dread and hope. We're almost there, he urged, glancing at Lily, who knotted her fingers tightly around the locket, her knuckles pale against the dark leather. But just as triumph flickered on the horizon, the headlights of the SUV bore down heavy, imposing, a monster fueled by a hunger for what lay around their necks. Jack's stomach dropped, a chill spiraling through him as the rearview mirror revealed the true danger. They're right behind us. As panic set the rhythm of his heart, Jack pushed the accelerator once more, forced to confront the reality of choices already made. If they didn't outpace the beast chasing them, all they held could slip away. But what other truths lay wrapped in the darkness of that locket? Beneath the thundering pulse of the SUV, echoing their every fear, the path ahead twisted into a realm of uncertainty. He didn't know what was waiting for them. Would they find refuge in the barn, or would they confront shadows from the past that refused to die? The barn loomed in the darkness, an ancient silhouette against the roiling clouds. Jack's heart raced as he slammed on the brakes, sending the cab skidding to a halt. They were here, but relief was fleeting. The SUV's headlights pierced the night, illuminating horrors they couldn't escape. Get out! Now! Jack barked, grabbing the locket and throwing open his door. Lily hesitated, fear etched on her face. What about you? Just go! He shouted, urgency bleeding from every word. With trembling hands, she clambered out, glancing back as the monstrous SUV rolled to a stop behind them, its engine growling like a wild animal about to pounce. Without waiting for her father, she ran toward the barn, her feet splashing in puddles, the rain soaking her quickly. Jack followed, adrenaline coursing through him, eyes scanning for any sign of danger. "Dad!" Lily called, breathless. "This way." Jack sprinted after her, the barn door creaking open under her push, revealing the musty interior filled with shadows and the faint smell of hay. Just as they ducked inside, the SUV's engine roared to life again, its tires screeching as it spun around in the gravel. "Quick, over here!" Lily urged, pointing toward a stack of hay bales in the corner. They darted behind them just as the lights from the SUV sliced through the barn's gloom, searching, seeking, hunting. Jack's heart thundered in his ears, his breath quickening as he peered through the cracks between the hay. His mind, spinning with thoughts of everything that led them here, filled with dread. "They can't find us, not here, not now." Lily trembled beside him, clutching the locket like a lifeline. "They don't know about the locket yet. If we can keep it safe." Crash. A door slammed open. Jack squinted through the darkness as shadowy figures burst into the barn. His heart sank. They were here, silhouettes against the backdrop of their hunt, wide-brimmed hats shadowing their faces. "Search everywhere." A voice barked. It was a command laced with authority, dripping with malice. Jack recognized it, the voice of their pursuer. Whoever they were not mere hired thugs, they were dangerous. "Stay quiet," he whispered fiercely to Lily, feeling the weight of his heartbeat echo in the silence. How could he protect her? A father, ordinary, unprepared, but now thrust into this chaos that he watched, barely breathing as the figures ransacked the barn, scattering hay with brutal efficiency. Jack ached with fear but steeled himself. Lily was with him. They'd gotten this far. Courage surged within him. "Damn it, where is it?" One of the men growled, yanking down a stack of hay, the stray strands floating around like ghosts. Jack's chest tightened as panic clawed at him again. What if they found the locket? What if it shattered their already fragile connection to her? Lily looked up at him, desperation shining in her eyes. "What do we do? We need a distraction." Jack thought furiously, his eyes flitting to a pile of old farm tools near the far wall. Could they suddenly? A loud clatter rang from outside. Tires screeched, and Jack's heart dropped. A second vehicle. No time to worry. Now or never. "Stay here," he mouthed to Lily, and without waiting for a response, he edged backward, slipping through the shadows toward the tools. He reached for a rusty shovel, gripping it tightly as he crouched hidden, preparing himself for whatever lurked around the corner. The barn door creaked open again, and the newcomers, 3 men in matching black gear, entered, their movements calculated. Jack clenched the shovel, ready to fight, to protect whatever it took. Another crash echoed behind him, heavier this time. The unmistakable sound of a struggle broke through the air. Lily's eyes went wide with fear reflected in the doorway as she heard it. "Come on, where are you?" The first voice called, loomed calm but fevered. A question bubbled up inside Jack. Why were they so desperate for the locket? He felt the urge to understand, to dig deeper, even as the cold edge of fear gnawed at his decision-making. Lily's fingers tightened around the locket, the last beacon of hope they had. Could it really be a key to her mother? Could they shift the tide? The sound of footsteps echoed closer, and Jack's mind reeled. He couldn't let them find her. He couldn't lose everything. But what if everything was already at stake? Had the past won, or could he still change their future? "Jack," Lily whispered, her voice breaking through the tumult. And just then, the slam of a door shattered the moment, sending a fresh wave of uncertainty crashing over him. Would they escape this horror, or would the locket unravel all they held dear? Jack's heart pounded against his ribcage as he crouched behind the hay bales, a thin film of sweat coating his palms around the rusted shovel. He could feel the desperation curling in his stomach, knotting tighter with every heavy step the intruders took. "Check the upper loft," barked the leader, his voice an icy whip in the thick air of the barn. Jack's throat tightened, and he glanced at Lily, who pressed herself against him, her eyes wide with fear. The locket felt like a furnace in her palm, a fragile lifeline that might just burn them alive if it fell into the wrong hands. "I can't let them find it," Jack whispered, the words barely audible. His mind raced through options, every scenario spiraling into a new layer of dread. Suddenly, the barn door creaked open wider, casting long shadows as one of the black-clad figures stepped into the faint light. Jack's pulse quickened. The man scanned the room, pausing, and tension snapped through the air like a live wire. The grapple of uncertainty gripped Jack. This was it. The intruder raised a flashlight, its beam piercing through the dark, and Jack held his breath. He had to make a choice, fight or flight. There was no way they could hide forever. A thunderous crash exploded from the rear of the barn, as if the heavens themselves had surrendered. Jack jumped to his feet, startling Lily. "What was that?" She gasped, her knuckles white against the locket's surface. "That's our chance," he replied, urgency infusing his voice. He grabbed her hand firmly, pulling her to her feet. "Where do we go?" "Follow me." Jack yanked her toward the back of the barn, the shadows swallowing them. As they rushed along the wall, the intruders distracted by the noise, Jack felt the pull of danger thrumming in his veins. They had to make it to safety, but the barn felt less like protection and more like a confinement. Then, a shout erupted from outside, an uncontrollable roar that shattered Jack's fragile sense of direction. He stumbled, almost losing his grip on Lily, who was tugging at him. "Dad, please." She was shaking, her fear morphing into panic. Suddenly, the air ripped with screams, echoing from the tree line beyond the barn. "Stay close," he commanded, his voice fierce. They dashed towards the shadows, ducking low. They needed to find a way out and fast. The snap of twigs under their feet sounded alarm bells in Jack's ears. He glanced behind. The black-clad figures were emerging from the barn now, their faces hard like granite, eyes glinting with predatory intent. "Lily, hide." He pushed her towards a stack of old crates, praying it was enough to protect her. The urge to shield her with his own body threatened to overwhelm him. "Don't leave me," she cried, but Jack was already moving, slipping into the chaos outside. As he crouched behind another clump of hay, he caught a glimpse of the scene before him. More vehicles, a fleet of SUVs flanked their escape route, headlights glaring like angry eyes. Strange figures moved about, their voices rising in a chaotic symphony of threats and demands. Jack's mind raced. They were outnumbered and surrounded. And yet, amid the chaos, he caught sight of something that sent an icy finger of dread running down his spine. One of the men was on the phone, his tone urgent. "We'll find them. No matter what it takes." The weight of those words hung heavy in the air. They weren't just hunting for the locket, they were after them. Fear lanced through Jack, but determination surged. He'd do anything to protect Lily. He had to find a way to get them out of here and discover who these men really were. Jack wanted to shout for Lily, but she was out of sight, hidden behind the crates. "I won't let them take you, I promise," he whispered to himself, his grip tightening around the shovel. But before he could move, footsteps thundered closer, the shadows growing larger. Just as Jack peeked out, the flashlight beam hit him square in the eyes. Everything froze. They had been found. "Get down!" he shouted, sprinting back toward the crates. He had only seconds to act. Would they catch them? Would the locket seal their fates? As a figure lunged forward, Jack felt the world tilt. In that moment, everything hinged on one desperate choice. Would he fight or flee into the dark unknown? The world closed in around Jack. The beam of the flashlight swung wildly, illuminating the barn's dim corners before settling back on him. His heart thundered in his chest, drowning out his thoughts. He couldn't let them take Lily. Not now. Instinct kicked in. Jack darted behind a stack of old barrels, the rough wood scraping against his clothes. He peered around the edge, just in time to see the figure from the barn, an intruder closing in, face twisted with determination, a weapon glinting ominously under the headlights of the SUVs. "Where are they?" The voice rippled through the night, cutting into the chaos. Jack could feel his pulse quicken, every beat echoing a primal warning. The man wasn't just after the locket, he was hunting for blood. Jack searched the area. He spotted Lily peeking out from the crates, petrified. "Stay hidden," he mouthed, but she nodded, her eyes wide and terrified. The intruder drew closer, moving with a calculated purpose. Jack's breath came in shallow gasps. If there was ever going to be a moment to act, it had to be now. He could see the pathways into the trees, freedom framed against the darkness looming behind the men. Jack clenched the shovel tighter, ready to spring. Just as he was about to move, another crash echoed, closer this time, a car door slamming shut. Jack whispered a prayer and lunged forward, adrenaline propelling him as he hurtled toward Lily. "We need to go. Now." Before he could reach her, the intruder turned sharply, catching Jack mid-stride. The gut-wrenching moment froze. "Stop right there!" he shouted angrily, face illuminated like a specter in the shadows. Jack's mind raced. There was no way he could risk Lily's safety anymore. He had to buy them time, even if it meant putting himself in danger. "Hey!" he yelled, his voice cracking. "Over here." The man hesitated, eyes narrowing. The distraction worked for a split second, but it was enough. Jack lunged, swinging the shovel wildly at the man, catching him off balance. The intruder stumbled backward, the surprise flicking across his face. In that instant, Jack seized Lily's hand, yanking her from her hiding spot. "Run!" he shouted, his voice ringing with urgency. They dashed toward the tree line. Jack stole a glance over his shoulder just in time to see the other figures emerging from the SUVs, their faces a mix of shock and fury. "They're getting away!" one of them shouted, setting off a ripple of commotion. Branches cracked underfoot as they broke into the dense forest, the shadows enveloping them like a cloak. Jack felt the locket digging into his side, its weight a constant reminder of everything at stake. "Where are we going?" Lily panted, pulling at Jack's sleeve as they ran deeper into the underbrush. "Just keep moving," he urged, the panic gnawing at his insides. They could find safety somewhere, wouldn't they? Suddenly, they burst into a clearing, and daylight hit them like a slap. The full moon hung above them, casting an otherworldly glow over the land. Jack's heart sank when he spotted a group of men crouched together on the opposite side, their forms shadowed yet menacing against the silvery ground. "Jack! What do we do?" Lily whimpered, her breath uneven, face pale in the moonlight. The weight of their predicament pressed heavily on Jack's shoulders. A million thoughts swirled, but there was no clear path. Were they racing toward safety or straight into a trap? Taking a breath, he looked at his daughter's frightened eyes, determined to protect her at all costs. "Trust me," he whispered, before stepping out into the clearing. Just then, a sound pierced through the night, heavy footsteps crunching against leaves, and suddenly, from the canopy above, eyes flashed in the darkness. Jack froze, dread clawing at him. They were not alone. As he scanned the tree line, realizing they were surrounded, he felt the pull of desperation. The fight wasn't over yet, but could he save them from whatever nightmare awaited in the shadows? With the men closing in from all sides, Jack turned to Lily. "Stay close, and whatever happens, don't let go." The rush of impending danger enveloped them again. As the figures descended around them, Jack braced himself for the storm ahead. And then, without warning, a voice boomed from the treetops, shattering the silence. "You've kept this secret long enough, Jack." The recognition hit like a blow, sending chills racing down his spine. What secret? Who was calling his name? As everything spiraled, Jack's mind raced. Was the past about to catch up with him in the most terrifying way? Jack's heart thundered louder than ever as the shadows deepened around him. The voice from the treetops echoed through the clearing like a menacing reminder of the ghosts he thought he had buried. "Who are you?" Jack shouted, trying to mask his fear with bravado. His grip tightened around Lily's hand, ready to pull her back, to shield her from whatever nightmare was creeping closer. From the treetops, a figure slowly descended. The branches shook, and the leaves rustled as he landed softly on the ground with the grace of a predator. Jack couldn't make out the man's face in the dim light, but he could see the smugness in his posture, the ease of someone who thrived on chaos. "I've been watching you, Jack. This was never supposed to happen," the stranger said, his voice calm yet dripping with a threat that sent shivers through Jack's body. Lily trembled, clutching Jack's arm tighter. "Dad, what is going on?" Her eyes darted around, panicked, wide with fear. "Just stay quiet, Lily," Jack whispered, feeling the weight of her gaze on him. He wanted to reassure her, to tell her that everything would be all right. But the truth was, the air crackled with danger, and his mind raced with memories of a life that shouldn't haunt him anymore. The stranger stepped forward, a wicked smile creeping onto his face. "You thought you could run from the past, didn't you? The locket, it's more than just a trinket to you. What do you know about it?" Jack growled, his protective instincts surging. He would defend his daughter to the end, even against this ghost from his past. The man chuckled softly, a sound that felt like nails on a chalkboard. "Everything, Jack. You see, it doesn't belong to you. You've been living in delusion, hiding the truth from her. And now it's time for her to know." Lily's confusion transformed into hurt as Jack instinctively stepped in front of her. "Leave her out of this," he shouted, desperation tightening his throat. "You remain blissfully unaware," the stranger taunted. "She has a right to know who she really is. Who you really are." Jack's stomach knotted as he glanced at Lily, whose face was now etched with a mix of anger and innocence blurred with curiosity. "What is he talking about, Dad?" "Nothing, Lily. Just a sick game," Jack replied, his voice trembling. He could feel his palms sweating. This wasn't the time for revelations. Not now. Not ever. "Come now," the man continued. "You don't want to hide truth forever, do you? You owe her that much." Jack's chest tightened at the thought of what horrific truth might emerge, secrets that could shatter Lily's world. "Stop!" he barked, taking a step forward, but the stranger held up a hand. "You don't want to push me," he sneered. "We both know I can take her from you in a heartbeat." Jack froze, the realization that he was powerless in this moment crashing over him like a tidal wave. He clenched his jaw, wrestling with panic that threatened to overwhelm him. Just then, the distant sound of sirens pierced the night, growing closer, echoing through the trees. Jack's heart surged with hope. Maybe help was finally on the way. "You think the cavalry will save you?" the stranger mocked, eyes narrowing. "This is just the beginning. You can't run from what's around you. Not when I can see through the darkness you've created." Jack felt his world is tilting, the ground feeling more unsteady beneath his feet. He had to act. He couldn't let Lily face whatever future that man was weaving. He pulled her closer, whispering in her ear. "We need to run. Now." The sirens blared, the sound now so loud it drowned out everything else. Jack could see at the glint of lights flickering through the trees hope was almost within reach. But the stranger wasn't done yet. "Don't think this is over, Jack," he hissed, cutting through the chaos. "You'll regret the day you thought you could escape your reality." With that, he turned, disappearing into the shadows as if he had never been there at all. The forest fell silent, leaving only the wailing sirens behind, echoing the chaos of a past that refused to be buried. "Dad?" Lily's voice trembled, pulling Jack's mind back to the present as the first flashing lights illuminated the clearing. What did he mean? As the officers jumped from their vehicles, ready to help, Jack's heart raced with fear and uncertainty. He could hear the whispers of danger in the trees around them, a reminder that secrets had a way of finding light. "Let us go," he urged, gripping her hand tighter and darting towards safety wherever it may be. But in the back of his mind, he knew, secrets had a way of haunting. The night was far from over, and the truth was still lurking. What else awaited them in the dark corners of their lives? The moment Jack and Lily hurried toward the approaching sirens, the air felt electric with tension, and every second stretched unbearably. Jack's heart raced not just from fear, but from uncertainty about the confrontation they had just escaped. The looming threat of the stranger still hung in the air, a shadowy specter that seemed impossible to shake off. As they neared the patrol cars, Jack scanned the faces of the officers. Most looked alert, but one officer, a tall woman with piercing blue eyes, seemed to be fully aware that something was amiss. She approached them swiftly, her brow furrowed in concern. "Sir, is everything all right?" she asked, a hint of authority in her voice, which only added to Jack's growing sense of dread. He didn't know how to articulate the danger they had just faced. "Yeah. Yes. We were just," Jack stammered, forcing himself to find his words. "We were lost. Just scared." It felt like a flimsy excuse, but it was the best he could manage in that moment. Lily, her eyes wide and shimmering with tears, tugged at Jack's arm. "Dad, what is going on?" she pleaded, desperation etched across her face. The vulnerability in her voice broke through his feigned bravado, tugging at Jack's heart like a vice. The policeman looked between them, noticing the raw panic in Lily's eyes. "We heard you were in trouble. Can you tell us what happened?" Jack hesitated. Admitting the truth would only invite even more questions about a past he couldn't afford to revisit. "Look, it's nothing. Just a misunderstanding," he said, trying to put on a reassuring smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. The officer wasn't satisfied. Instead, she pressed further, "Is there someone you need to talk about? Someone who was threatening you?" Before Jack could respond, flashes of the stranger's chilling words pierced his mind. "You can't run from what's around you." The man wasn't just a nuisance. He was a weapon aimed at Jack's core, and Jack felt its sharpness. Suddenly, Lily spoke up again, her voice steady, cutting through Jack's turmoil. "He knew you, Dad." "Who is he?" Her words hung in the air, and fear rushed through Jack like ice water. He turned to her, but the truth felt like a jagged rock lodged in his throat. He couldn't bring himself to answer, not while a whirlwind of guilt roiled within him. Just then, the woman officer's gaze shifted as she noticed movement in the nearby shadows. Jack followed her line of sight, heart plummeting as he saw a figure watching from the tree lean. The stranger had returned. "Get back!" the officer shouted, instincts kicking into gear as she pulled her weapon from its holster. Sirens still blared, but they now felt far away, meaningless in the face of the looming threat. Jack's breath quickened. "We need to go. Now!" he yelled, grasping Lily's hand tighter. Inside the car, they sprinted toward the closest police vehicle. As the stranger stepped out of the shadows, a dark silhouette that sent chills down Jack's spine. "You're running in circles, Jack," he called out, his voice echoing oddly in the stillness, taunting. Lily's pulse raced beside him, and Jack could feel her fear echoing his own. He glanced back, praying the officers would respond in time as he yanked open the door to the patrol car, but just as they slid inside, that same haunting smile crept onto the stranger's face. "You think sirens will save you? You're still trapped in a maze of your making." His words lingered ominously in the darkened woods, wrapping around them like chains. Jack's heart pounded as the door shut behind them. The officer leaned in, her face set with concern. "What do you want us to do?" Jack locked eyes with the stranger, feeling the weight of every secret and the weight of his past crashing down on him. "You have to protect us," he managed, voice trembling. As the patrol car slowly crept backward, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that escape might be a mere illusion. The man's laughter echoed in his ears, promising a darkness that would not easily fade. Lily looked up at him, her eyes searching his for assurance, but he felt like a ship lost at sea. The truth loomed large, a tide threatening to pull them under. The car drove into the night, but deep within Jack, the real battle was only just beginning. What dreadful revelation awaited them next? And in those shadows, not far behind, a different truth began to unfold. With the patrol car gliding away from the scene, the weight of uncertainty felt heavier than the rain that continued to pound against the windshield. Jack's heartbeat thudded loudly in his ears, echoing the fear pooling in his chest. That fleeting laugh of the stranger lingered like a ghost, a reminder that the world was full of dangers lurking just beyond the reach of the light. Lily sat beside him, her face drawn, every flicker of emotion written in the tremble of her hands. "What was that?" she whispered, voice wavering between fear and disbelief. Guilt tightened around Jack like a noose, knowing he had sheltered her from the truth all this time, but in this moment, he couldn't let the dam of lies break just yet. "I don't know, sweetie." "I wish I did," he replied, pushing the unbearable knot in his throat down. The officer driving an imposing presence behind the wheel kept glancing at them through the rearview mirror. "Do you want to talk about what happened?" Her tone was gentle but firm, urging them to confront the fear they both carried. Jack glanced at Lily, her eyes filled with a blend of anger and sorrow, like storms brewing on the horizon. How could he swallow the secrets that were racked with pain? But the longer he hesitated, the closer they drifted towards the inevitable, and he could feel his resolve wilting under the pressure. Finally, he inhaled deeply. It's about the locket. It means something significant, and the man after us has made sure I understand that," Jack said, the words spilling from his lips as he fought to keep the tremor out of his voice. A silence wrapped itself around them, heavy and tangible. The officer's expression shifted slightly, awareness sparking in her eyes. "The locket? Why is it so important?" Lily's gaze shot toward Jack. "Dad?" He ran a hand through his hair, feeling every bit of the weight pressing hard on his shoulders. "It belonged to her mother," he managed after a pause, a lump forming in his throat. And it's connected to something I thought I could bury forever." "Ties to our past," Lily echoed softly, understanding dawning in her eyes. There was resolve now, a thread keeping her anchored amid the chaos. The officer pulled over to the side of the road. "We need to secure your safety then. I can have someone stay with you, but you need to tell me who that man is and what he wants." Jack hesitated, the scars of his choices ripping open wounds he wasn't prepared to confront. He faltered, then gallantly added in a shaky breath, "He was my best friend when we were younger." But it turned bitter, filled with betrayal, secrets, lies. "That locket is the key to everything I lost, everything we lost." Lily let out a soft gasp as the full depth of their reality clashed against them, forming sharp edges that threatened to cut. Fear and compassion swirled between them, and in that moment, he could see the pieces of their lives unfolding in the moonlight. "I don't even know if her mother is alive or not," Jack continued, eyes pleading with the officer for understanding, "but someone out there knows something, and they're not afraid to come after us to get it." The officer nodded, her determined gaze steady. "We can't let that happen. I'll contact my unit, and we can work out a plan to keep you safe while we dig into this." Jack felt a sudden glimmer of hope, but it was fragile. "But what if he comes after us again?" "They knew we were at the barn." As if in answer, a loud crash resounded through the darkened night farther down the road, a sound almost too familiar to ignore. Lights swirled in the distance, flashes and honks weaving chaos into the calm they had just found. "We don't have time," the officer said swiftly, her eyes narrowing, "get ready to move." "Lily, stay close." Jack barked, low and firm. They needed to stay grounded, to keep each other safe amidst the impending storm. The officer was already beckoning for backup. Jack felt the tension build, each second adding an urgency that pushed around them as if all the world had become a ticking clock. Racing thoughts filled Jack's mind. Could he mend the fractures of their past? Could they truly find solace amid the torment? As the sirens intensified, he looked at Lily, who met his gaze with silent resolve. They were in this together, tied by blood and fate. "Whatever happens next, we face it together," he vowed, squeezing her hand tightly. "You and me." But just as hope began to bloom, a piercing shout cut through the night air. "Jack!" That unmistakable voice sent a chill racing down his spine. With dread filling his chest, he turned toward the sound, then he saw her, a lone figure against the chaos, illuminated by the flashing lights. "Mom!" The word slipped from his lips, shock rooting him to the spot. As Lily tugged at his sleeve, demanding to know what was happening, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. The ghosts of the past surged forward, and Jack could feel every heartbeat echoing through him, each pulse a clue to what had been hidden, to the truth that was finally clawing its way to the surface, and as the distance between them closed, he knew the real battle was just beginning. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss out on what happens next. This is the moment to show your support. You won't want to be left in the dark. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Smash the like button now to help feed the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. What will happen next? Let us discuss.